home stretch presentation. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat. I will be taking a look at that as we go, and answering just as many questions as I possibly can. So if you have ever been in or watched a foot race, you know that once the runners turn that last corner, they start their final sprint, the intensity really ratchets up. It's the part of the race known as the home stretch. So what I want you to think about is about your career and your life. And once you get to that point where you can see retirement coming, you can see it as your finish line, you really need to ratchet up what you're doing to prepare for retirement. We don't want you to stumble, trip, and fall and have an accident like that, you know, an obstacle in the way. We want to make sure that you have a nice, easy retirement. So we're hoping that today we can identify some hurdles that we can avoid and some strategies for success that we can reach for. And then you'll feel better prepared as you sprint towards retirement. My name is Michelle Morris. I'm from Consolidated Planning Group. And we're going to talk about 7 things today that can help you prepare. And those are determining when the time is right to retire, aiming at that retirement target, maximizing your nest egg, getting your portfolio checked up, creating a Social Security strategy, building a retirement income stream, and looking beyond the money, which to me is the very most important part. So one of the first things that you need to do when you're thinking about retirement is determining when the time is going to be right. So let's look a little quickly at the history of retirement. This is Otto von Bismarck. He was the Chancellor of Germany in the 1800s, and he came up with the concept of retirement. He implemented a law that was called the Old Age and Disability Insurance Law. It provided a state pension for anyone who reached the age of 70. But not many people actually took advantage of that program because the average life expectancy was only 43.5 years. So here in the United States, Social Security was introduced in 1935. And it defined 65 as the retirement age. Despite the passage of over 80 years since then, the age of retirement has remained largely unchanged. So early on, somebody would have been lucky to reach the age of retirement. And now people can easily spend 20 years or more living in retirement. So it's so important to prepare. What age do you think you'll retire? It's not that easy to answer because there was a poll that asked people in their 40s and 50s to estimate when they'd retire and look at the results and what actually happened. So for example, if someone thought they'd retire at age 55, the research showed that on average, they were actually most likely to retire at age 58. And this was because of things like the cost of healthcare. You know, if you retire early, you have to pay for your own Medicare or your own medical costs because Medicare doesn't kick in until age 65. Maybe their nest egg wasn't big enough yet and they didn't feel ready, or maybe they had unexpected expenses or higher expenses than they anticipated. And for someone who thought they'd retire at age 65, the research shows that they actually were more likely to retire about 63. And maybe they had poor health and couldn't work anymore, or they had to take care of a loved one. Maybe they became unemployed. Perhaps they met their retirement goals early. So in all of the research that was done, the common factor was there was an adjustment about half a year for anyone, half a year for every year above or below 61. So generally, people retire around the age of 61. That's in the broad study that was done, 61 is the average. And it's not job stress or physicality or income or health or education level. It's just age 61 is the thing that tends to trigger people to retire. So as you determine the right time to retire, you think of this as a guidepost. It's not written in stone, and things can and do definitely change. One important factor to consider is planning as a couple. Imagine you're a couple who married a few decades ago. In 1978, the average men got married was 24, and the average age that women got married was 22. So there's about an age gap of 2 years there. Fast forward to the day the husband is ready to retire at age 65. If she's not covered by a medical plan and she's younger than 65, then she's not covered by the workplace. She's not covered by Medicaid. Pardon me, I'm having trouble speaking today. So she would have to pay out of pocket if he retires and she is not covered by her own workplace plan. So you need to keep that in consideration when you're looking at who is going to retire when. Another thing to think about is that as they age, he reaches the age of 83, which is about the average life expectancy for men. At this point, if he passes away, his spouse will be living all on her own. She tends to live longer than her husband because women tend to live longer than men. So she might spend 5 or more years in her own retirement all by herself. And these are just averages. You could have things that significantly widen the gap. We don't know what's going to happen, but you do need to consider this when you're looking at retirement. You also need to be prepared as you're looking at the next couple of years or the next decade or so. You need to be prepared for some age-related milestones. So, for example, at the age of 50, you can start upping the amount of your contributions to catch up a little bit. You have to take a minimum distribution at age 70 and a half. You have lots to do in between, but it's doable, and we're here to help you with all of that. And we'll discuss some of those important milestones today. So once you think about the timing of retirement, it's time to think about when you're going to be actually ready. How much do you need to be ready to retire? So let's look at some rules of thumb here. The first rule of thumb is that you need to save enough to generate about 70 to 90% of your pre-retirement income. You might need less in retirement, and that's because certain costs are likely to go down once you retire. Maybe you'll finish paying off your mortgage or spend less time commuting or dry cleaning or buying fancy work clothes. Maybe you'll spend less on food because you won't have to eat out as much. But there are other costs that can go up during retirement. Many retirees are no longer covered by a workplace medical plan, and even with Medicare, the premiums and copays could rise as you age or as you need more health care. Hopefully you'll spend more money on travel, right? I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to. Or if you spend more time at home, your utility usage might increase. Not to mention, if your home is getting older, there might be more maintenance expenses. These costs go up and down, and they kind of offset each other. But two big things that are likely to reduce your paycheck while you're working go away when you retire. So that's good. You won't need to pay Social Security and Medicare payroll taxes anymore, and you'll no longer be saving for retirement. That's why many people require less income in retirement. So the second rule of thumb is that you should save a certain amount times your salary by a certain age. So as you get older, you have a higher multiple of your salary saved for retirement. Let's say you're making $100,000 a year at age 55. You should have your retirement savings about 6 to 8 times that, about $600,000 to $800,000. So here's a chart that can show you a little bit. If you're at age 55, you should have 6 to 8 times. If you're at age 60 already, you should have 8 to 10 times your income. If you're at age 65, you should have 10 to 12 times your income, your salary saved for retirement. So think about how much you currently earn and how much you currently have saved for retirement, and think about whether or not you're on track. Of course, we can help you if you're not, if you have some catching up to do. The third rule of thumb is that you need enough retirement savings to generate a desired income using a 4% withdrawal rate. So here are several different desired annual income amounts that you, once retired, might want to generate. Assume while you're retired, you have your savings invested in something conservative that returns 1.5% a year. To provide the annual income amounts for 20 years, including inflation, you'll need to have a minimum of this much saved at the time you retire. So instead of a 1.5% return rate, what if we could invest your savings and get a 5% return? Then you can see that the amount that you would need to save would be way lower, and you would still get the benefits that you're looking for. Of course, a higher return means the total savings is lower. It means a little bit more risk, but these rules of thumb are meant to give you a general idea of how much you'll need to save so that your retirement will be within reach. So how can we increase that retirement savings? Let's talk about maximizing your nest egg. We can look at tax advantaged options, and here are some of them. Let's say this couple, the husband is 52. He has an annual income of 150. The wife is 50 and she's a stay-at-home mom, not single, they're married. So when it comes to saving for retirement, one of the most common ways to do so is through a 401k. Maybe this gentleman has the maximum annual contributions listed on the screen. And let's say he participates in that 401k, he can contribute $19,000. So he's doing the 401k, he's contributing $19,000. Many employers, in addition to this, offer matching. So let's say his company match is 50 cents for every dollar up to 6%. So that means that on top of his $19,000, he also gets another $4,500. Perfect. Well, once they get older, he's 50 years old, he can do what's called catch-up contribution. And that means he could save an additional $6,000 per year in that 401k plan. So now they're up to $6,000 plus $4,500 plus $19,000. Many people assume that if you participate in your workplace retirement plan, you can't get an IRA, but you can. If your income falls within the ranges listed here, you can participate in a traditional or Roth IRA. So since this couple is married and the income is less than $203,000, then they can contribute $6,000 to a Roth IRA. And because he's over age 50, $1,000 more can be saved as the catch-up contribution. So what about if they added a spousal IRA? Even if the wife in this case is a stay-at-home mom, she doesn't have earned income, the working spouse can contribute to an IRA on her behalf. So there are income limits to look at, but because our couple makes less than $203,000, they can add another $6,000 to a Roth spousal IRA. And because she is 50, there's a catch-up contribution that can be added. So if our couple took advantage of all of these opportunities that we covered, they could save $43,500 a year in tax-advantaged retirement accounts. And if you save that much over 15 years and earn 6% return, we're looking at over $1 million added to their retirement nest egg. This only represents what they can save in tax-advantaged retirement accounts. You can save even more in regular accounts as well. So maybe you can't use every single one of those opportunities that we mentioned, but working with us will help you maximize what you can use. So what we like to do is a portfolio checkup to see how you're doing, where your retirement accounts are at, and how we can help make them better. Today's workforce, being more mobile than ever, found that there was a study done that found that workers between 1957 and 1964 birth years, those people switched jobs an average of 12 times by the age of 50. So if a worker was born between 1957 and 1964, they changed jobs 12 times. Most commonly, the way people save for retirement today is through a workplace plan like a 401k. So a recent report showed that actually 71% of jobs include a 401k or a similar type of retirement plan. Many of these retirement plans are structured with automatic enrollment as a way to increase your retirement savings. Over 60% of plans automatically enroll their participants. The convergence of these three factors means that there are a lot of retirement accounts that get forgotten. They get created and then abandoned, left behind at previous employers. It might be a good idea to consolidate your old retirement accounts. Why? Well, the challenge with multiple retirement accounts is that it's difficult to get a clear picture of your overall asset allocation. If your retirement account looked like this, you might think you've got a good mix of stocks and bonds in your portfolio, right? It's pretty good. But what about the accounts that you left behind at prior jobs? If they were opened when you were younger, they might be more heavily weighted towards stocks. And that would have been appropriate at that time, but not when retirement is getting closer. If you combine all of your accounts, your total asset allocation might be way off from where you thought or where you want it to be. So we definitely should check into those and make sure that they are still in line with your savings goals. One last tip, when we're doing the portfolio checkup, it's a good time to check your beneficiary information on your accounts. If the accounts were established a long time ago, maybe you have an ex-spouse listed as a beneficiary, or you need to update because you added children to your family or stepchildren. If you've set up a trust, or if you haven't yet set up a trust and you need to add that. There's just a wide variety of beneficiary information that could be there that might need to be updated. In most cases, the beneficiaries listed on your retirement accounts override the beneficiaries that are listed in your will or trust, even if the will or trust is newer. So you need to make sure that you keep those beneficiaries updated on your accounts. Pausing for a moment to see if anybody has any questions. I've been talking a lot, running my mouth, tripping over my tongue. So I want to make sure that we don't have any questions. Okay, it looks like we're doing good. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat for me, and I will be checking it. I can see what comes through. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is Social Security. That might be your primary income source once you retire. So it's important to have a strategy for dealing with this retirement program. Okay, it's important to understand a little bit about how Social Security works. And then you can maximize this program for your personal situation. One of the things that we need to know is your full retirement age. And that is the age for most people now, it's age 67, where you are eligible for your full retirement benefits from Social Security. But regardless of whatever your full retirement age is, the earliest age that you can start collecting from Social Security is 62. You can file for your benefits anytime between 62 and 70, but the longer you delay, the more you should get. Typically, it is an increase of 8% every year above your full retirement age. One thing I do want to let you know about, though, is that at Consolidated Planning Group, we can do a retirement maximization analysis where we look at your Social Security benefits specifically, and we can help you determine what exactly is the right time for you and your spouse to pull the trigger on your Social Security benefits. People often think that, oh, if I wait as long as possible, I'll get the most, but that's not always the case. We do have a program that can run various scenarios for you and come up with the best time for you to do it. So for example, in one scenario we ran recently, I saw that the wife of the couple should turn on her Social Security benefits for 1 month, which triggered her children to get Social Security benefits. And then she turns them off. And then a few years later, she turns them back on. But all this time, her children have been getting benefits. So it was really beneficial to get the benefits. It was really beneficial for that family that she knew that one little trick, and we can help find those tricks for you. Okay, how to rebuild your retirement income stream. Of course, Social Security is the main thing, but since there's no such thing as a retirement paycheck, we need to look at converting your retirement savings into income. One basic strategy is to take your retirement savings and invest it into something that generates interest payments. One example is to invest in money market accounts or CDs, but they don't offer very much in return. 1 year CDs are only slightly better at generating income than bonds, than market accounts. It just really isn't that great when you look at 1 year CDs. Maybe it can pay an extra bill here or there, but it doesn't really generate enough for most people to live on. So there are some other income generating investments, like you see the higher end. They come with additional risks, of course, more risk, more reward, but can provide significantly more income. We can take your risk tolerance into consideration when we look at what you should do with your retirement money to generate income for yourself. Another strategy for creating a stream of retirement income is just to take out systematic withdrawals. So a systematic withdrawal will sell a small portion of your overall retirement portfolio at regular intervals and give you income. So if you had $500,000 in your retirement account and you purchased 100,000 shares of an investment at $5 per share, that's what the $5, 100,000 is. Let's look at what happens if you plan to take out $1,500 per month. Ta-da! In good months, when your retirement portfolio goes up in value, you'll sell fewer shares to generate your monthly income. And in months when your retirement portfolio goes down in value, you'll see that you'll have to sell more shares. Each of these investment strategies has pros and cons. You should use a portfolio of income producing investments to help keep your nest egg intact by distributing income rather than using your original retirement savings. Many decide to do it the other way around. They want consistent income, but they don't want their original savings messed up. So it can go either way, especially when the markets fluctuate. All investments involve risks, including the possible loss of principal. But we can help figure out which strategy would work the best for you to help you generate the retirement income you need from your investment portfolio. Checking for questions. Okay, still don't see any. Looks like we'll just keep on keeping on. The last thing you need to do before you retire is to look beyond the money. This is the best part of retirement. Let me explain. When it comes to retiring, of course, money is important. It provides opportunity, but it isn't everything. Let me interject a quick story here about my grandmother. When she was in her late 80s, early 90s, I heard something from her that I had never heard or thought of before. I was a little bit younger at the time, but she said that she was afraid that she was going to outlive her money. I had never thought of that. So it's so important to plan ahead. If you're 45 to 55 years old and you're feeling a little bit down, you're not alone. This is when people report the stress and feeling the most unhappy in their life. You have kids, you have work, you have aging parents and grandparents, maybe. Your health is starting to waver. You're not invincible anymore. And all of a sudden, the stress and anxiety starts to get to you. I'm 44 for a few more weeks. And I certainly feel this. It's probably not a coincidence that they call this time in life your midlife crisis. The good news, though, is that it gets better. Study after study has shown that on average, as people get older, they become happier. This trend has been observed across gender, income level, education, culture, and even geography. This U curve of human happiness has been attributed to lower stress levels, less regret, less concern for status, and having lots of experience in regulating your emotions. As people age, they tend to savor the familiar, peaceful, ordinary events that comprise their daily lives and reflect who they are in the present. So when I speak of my grandmother, she was always in such a great mood and so happy, and just the life of the party, even though she did have that little bit of stress that she was going to outlive her income. So we want to eliminate that fear and focus on the happy, good times that you're going to be having. Of course, having money makes retirement easier, but it doesn't buy happiness. Studies have shown that the most important factors that determine happiness in retirement are health, friendships, and family. It's important to take steps now to ensure that you remain healthy. So you might want to join a gym, take more walks, go out with the dogs and play in the yard, maybe do some yoga. I know that I need to lose a few pounds, so walking would be good for me. And that's going to help me stay healthy long enough to enjoy my retirement. Having strong friendships and great relationships with family also boosts mental and physical health. And one study even showed that socially isolated individuals face more health risks compared to even health risks that are comparable to smokers. So not hanging out with friends is almost as bad as smoking. Ooh. Beyond health and relationships, it's important to have a sense of purpose. And in Japan, the island of Okinawa is known for having one of the longest life expectancy rates in the whole world. While there are probably a lot of different factors that contribute to this, one of the reasons may be the concept of ikigai. Ikigai is a word that roughly translates to your reason for being, the reason you get out of bed each morning. That it describes the place where the answer to four important questions overlap. What do you love? What does the world need? What can you get paid for? And what are you good at? People in Okinawa might think that the concept of retirement in general just doesn't make sense, because you don't wake up one day and just stop doing everything. You just change what you're doing. If you can do these things, what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you're good at, and put that all into one, that is your ikigai. For people who plan properly for retirement, you could probably begin focusing less on getting paid for things and more on doing just what you're good at and what you love and what the world needs. You don't just need a retirement plan, you need a retirement living plan. Longer life expectancy and better health during those later years mean that people can do a lot during retirement. New retirees often go through a phase of increased travel and leisure activities, giving themselves a reward for all that hard work. They also can spend more time on hobbies and visiting family and friends, all those things that they've wanted to do for a long time or wanted to learn but never really had the chance. Maybe you could start a business, get more education, volunteer. However you spend your time, it's very important that you do something that you find meaningful. And look at this. Here are some impressive accomplishments of people who focused on having a retirement living plan. Did you know that Roget's thesaurus wasn't invented until Roget was 73 years old? Colonel Sanders didn't start Kentucky Fried Chicken until he was 65. Madonna Buder, also known as the Iron Nun, began training for triathlons in her late 40s and completed an Ironman triathlon at the age of 82. Grandma Moses started painting at age 76. And this last person, whose name I'm afraid I'm going to butcher, so I'm not going to pronounce, became the eldest person to reach the summit of Mount Everest at age 70, and then went ahead and did it again at the age of 80. So don't think that just because you hit retirement age at age 62 or 65 or 67, or just because you stop working and it's 55 and you decide to retire from your job, you still have a long way to go. And there's plenty of time to still do amazing, amazing things like these people. In short, retirement is wonderful if you have two essentials: much to live on and much to live for. So it's important that you're here today showing that you want to take the steps to be prepared. So here's a little bit more about our security maximization analysis. We are National Social Security advisors. We're designated by the administration. We can help you determine that optimal age, as I mentioned, when it's right to turn on your Social Security benefits. We do calculate your spousal retirement, widowers benefits, child and care, adult children, disabled adult children. We run what if scenarios for you. We consider, what supplemental security insurance or um, disabled security you have. We take a look at all of your benefits, and we give you a report with tables and graphs that show you exactly when and why it works this way. We even can account for federal employees' retirement system accounts and civil service retirement system accounts. So any questions that you have about Social Security, we can run this analysis for you and help you figure it out what would be best for your family. Okay, we're kind of at the end here. So we talked about how to be prepared for the home stretch today, 7 things you need to do in the decade before you retire. Figure out when the time is right, what your target is, maximizing your nest egg to get the most benefit you can, getting that portfolio checkup done to make sure you're on the right track and to correct course as necessary, creating a Social Security strategy, building your retirement income stream, and looking at what you're going to do beyond the money. The really important stuff, I like to say. If you have any questions, you are welcome to reach out to us at any time. There's my phone number, my email address, and our website. We also host a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. We post most of our special needs focused webinars on our YouTube channel. This webinar will be emailed to all of the registrants. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, or you would like to go through the Social Security maximization analysis with us, we would be happy to do that for you. All right. There's a lot you might want to do, probably should do as you're getting closer to retirement. And that's why working with a financial advisor might be one of the best investments that you can make. Give us a call, set an appointment. We'll help you address the specific questions and needs that you have going forward towards retirement. I hope that you all had a fantastic Thanksgiving, a great weekend, and we're all gonna work really hard and kill it for the end of the year, finish the year strong, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day. Thank you so much.